see what has been happening in the wrestling world. Welcome to the show, where comedy meets wrestling by fans for fans. The Two Counts, always the best guests in Midwest. The Two Counts, great time guaranteed because we're the best of the best. Meet Ace and JR, Top Shelf Tommy, we're about to start. Welcome to the Two Counts. It's time to dig deep into the wrestling world. Welcome to the Two Counts, where comedy meets wrestling by fans for fans. The Two Counts.
The Two Count. The Two Count. Where comedy meets wrestling. Please comment, share, like, and start a hype train for God's sakes. And now, here are the hosts of The Two Count. Comedian John Russell, wrestling broadcaster Big Ace, and everybody's favorite heel, Top Shelf Tommy.
Happy Tuesday to you. Happy Tuesday. We're happy to see all of you. We are here on a great night. We have Nur-D with us. We're not going to monkey around a whole heck of a lot because he has an anniversary to go to. Why don't you give us a little bit of backstory on your nonprofit?
Yes, thank you so much again for having me here. What up, Two Count Nation? It's your boy, Nur-D. Yes, today is actually also the anniversary of my nonprofit, Justice Frontline Aid. We've been here in the cities now for about 2 years, so 2-year anniversary, providing aid through the movement throughout the Twin Cities, helping with planning routes for protests, first aid to people who have been injured, especially during the uprising, doing food shelf work, working with people who are unhoused. It is a wonderful organization full of amazing volunteers, and we're celebrating today. But I could not do a celebration without first hanging out with two of the best people in professional wrestling, and also Top Shelf Tom is here as well.
Yeah.
Are we starting fights already? I mean,
What?
I want to make sure I put this out there that there's very few guests that I like, Nur-D, and I'm actually one of the guys who petitioned to try and get you back on here as early as we did. So just mind your manners.
One of the guys.
Quick.
One of the guys that petitioned. There's three of us.
Yeah, I mean, it was a unanimous decision to have you back, but I want to make sure you are aware that I was one of those people who said, yes, let's have him back. All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me back. I hope this will not be a botch. I hope this will be a good day for all of us. I'm super excited to be here with y'all.
For sure, man. Well, like JR said, let's kind of just get into it because, you got some stuff to do later, and we don't want to keep you here all night. I mean, we would love to keep you here all night, but we're not going to tonight. So a lot of things have been happening. I think it was the last thing to happen, so let's start with it, guys. Hell in a Cell went down Sunday night.
Holy
yes,
yeah,
it sure did.
A whole event based around one match, and only one time did they have that match.
Why?
Yep.
Why only one? I
never understood that. Like, I think that Hell in a Cell is such a cool. First of all, it's a cool name. You know, it's different than a steel cage match only because it's bigger and red. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot to it. Me personally, and you can tell me how you guys feel about it. I think even though Hell in a Cell has a great brand recognition, obviously everyone talks about it. I think that they should replace Hell in a Cell with War Games. I think everyone would enjoy that more. The cell is cooler. The two rings next to each other is more interesting. I think you could sell more merch that way because I know that's what all that, the upper people think about. You know what I mean? Like, I think you get the same thing. And saying War Games will give you just as much of a blip as saying Hell in a Cell. So,
and it feels more main roster. You know what I mean? Like, flip-flop them. Hell in a Cell could be NXT's thing because they try to be a little more edgy, so they can take it.
Just a little one boop. You know what I mean? And you can do more stuff with it.
Well, I mean, really, if you're going to think about it, like War Games was kind of the answer to Survivor Series in a lot of ways. And I think, I mean, Vince, it sounds like doesn't like Survivor Series anymore as it is, so you might as well just replace it with War Games.
Yeah.
I mean, throw that out there. Why not? Huh? I mean,
Especially
WWE doesn't listen to me at all
mean
anyway.
anything.
So,
Since the brand doesn't mean anything anymore. So, like,
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, as far as I'm concerned, Hell in a Cell, correct me if I'm wrong, started off as a match in a pay-per-view.
Yes.
And I think where they made the mistake was taking it into its own entity, because obviously not everybody can have a match in Hell in a Cell in that evening. And that's, what we're talking about. But the reality is that if they would have kept it separate, it would still be special, and they could put it anywhere whenever they needed to.
Yeah,
it's the same with
match.
And it's the same with Money in the Bank. Like, to me, it was such a more exciting match when it was once a year at Mania. And it became its own thing, and it is what it is. But
I will say that the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, I do, at least that makes sense, because it can be the main event, and you can kind of, because then it also builds whoever wins into more of like a push for a main event star, because you've now competed in the main event, you have this thing, and now it's like, yo, this person statistically will be a champion, next. So that one is kind of like, a success story of turning a match into a pay-per-view, or Hell in a Cell, and also TLC, both of which seem like massive failures in that, right? Because it's just like, you give us one match with it. Why does everybody else care? Why wouldn't this just be an episode of Raw then, with just one little thing, especially when you put steel cages on Raw all the time?
Right.
Well,
right.
I mean,
And SmackDown.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, really what we need is to kind of take TLC and Hell in a Cell and probably just make Extreme Rules again, and just make those part of it, where you have the one match or the couple matches, throw in the ladder match, throw in the steel chairs, tables matches, or whatever. Like, it really doesn't need to be that complicated and stuff. But I think there's a few things that just need to kind of change on the schedule with WWE. But
well, and isn't it Money in the Bank this year is guaranteed a shot at Mania now, though? It's not a year contract, which means now the question is, well, then what's the Rumble winner getting this year?
See, that's what Cody said, and nobody ever clarified it.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
I think he might have meant, and he, just maybe he just did it like a gaffe or whatever. But I think what he meant was like, you get a shot at Mania because the champion will be at Mania. Therefore, if you win Money in the Bank, chances are you're going to cash it in at Mania. But even that doesn't like really track, because you could cash it in at any time.
Yeah. Okay, Corbin, I see that. We're going to get into the matches here, guys. Let's get into it.
I want to say this first before we start off. I was happy that it was only 3 hours.
Yeah,
there's that.
As opposed to the marathon that Double or Nothing was. But having said that, having said that, though, even though the wrestling was in some cases very, very good, in some cases adequate, the show still plodded along with all of the packages and the rehashes and all that stuff. And they gotta stop doing that.
I think they know. I think WWE is starting to realize that the days of everyone gathering around the television to watch their programming for 3+ hours is done. And so they have to like put all these packages in so people can understand who is who, why are they fighting, like, because now, especially because it's on Peacock now, we're scrolling by and we're like, well, what is this wrestling about? They want to be able to. Stan Lee always said that every comic is someone's first comic, and so they're trying to do like this, well, let me catch you up on who all these people are every episode. And I'm just like, yo, here's the thing though, it's impossible to catch up. Like, just let people watch. When I started watching professional wrestling, like, it had been going on for decades before I got into it, and you just learn from context clues. You figure out who's who and why people. Give us one package. Give us a package for the main event, that the match that you want, the Hell in a Cell match that you want us to think is the biggest important thing, and then allow the commentators space to to weave in the narrative so far throughout the match. Like, they're good at what they're doing, at least, some of them are.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get down to this, Matt. This isn't going to be in order of how everything went, I don't think, but we're going to just go down the card here that I have in front of me. So we had the United States Championship title up for grabs. Theory defending against Mustafa Ali in his hometown. Came out in that Chicago Bulls gear, looking ready to go.
Looking dope.
Yeah, that's a fire color on him, man. Like, red is a good color for him to be wearing, dude.
So what's going to happen with that guy, though, right? Didn't he ask for his release?
Yeah,
he did, and he came back. I remember it was like this big thing. He had like one good like promo when he came back on Raw, and it was like, ooh, things are going to be different. And now they they're never going to let him beat Theory. Theory's essentially Vince McMahon's like surrogate, like his self-insert character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
he's
he's what Vince McMahon wants to be currently.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I'm team main event Mustafa, in fairness. Like, main event Mustafa. I really, he should be the United States champion. Those packages he did before he asked for his release, like where he was doing like the whole kind of like the Kevin Owens, like America, like I am America sort of thing, a sort of heelish, but making some good points.
Right.
Like, that would push him to like John Cena levels of tweener. Because when John Cena started the Doctor of Thugonomics thing, he was heel. And then after a while, people were like, he's funny. Like, he's cracking jokes on these bigger guys. Like, actually. I really think he really should kind of be in the main, or at least with a title.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. It did feel like, I mean, I watched last night's Raw too, and it kind of felt like everything that happened at Judgment Day, or I'm sorry, not Judgment Day, excuse me, totally different thing there. But everything that happened at Hell in a Cell was kind of just rehashed a little bit differently on Monday Night Raw. And this is one that realistically, if you want somebody to challenge for us or Theory, sorry, excuse me again, Mustafa Ali is probably your best bet, because I mean, you literally, it's the dichotomy of the two characters. You have literally just almost nothing in common between the two. And you have the northern Muslim American, you have the southern white boy, and I mean, really, they have nothing in common, it seems like, but they're both just huge athletic dudes, and they can go. And I want to actually see more of that kind of matchup between those two, because WWE really just doesn't know how to push their athletes. They know how to push big guys, but they don't really know how to push the athletes. And I think when you see Theory get a little bit of push because Vince McMahon likes him, that's good. But Mustafa Ali is also like right there athletically, and you really could have had, I think you could have had the same Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, like go 3 matches with this thing, and it would have been fine by me.
Yeah, one of the things that I feel is like a pretty big disservice, even though I love this match at Mania, in fairness. Once you have a color commentator beat a wrestler clean, every other wrestler who doesn't beat them is going to seem as if they're not as good as the guy behind the desk. And like, I like the Pat McAfee match, don't get me wrong. I think that Pat McAfee, like, he should have taken it. He should have won. Mustafa should have come out, should have taken the win, and then have Theory chase him for the belt. Like, you could have got the feud going. Just put the belt on Mustafa for a little bit, just so he can be a champion, get people, seeing him as a champion thing. I don't think he's ever held the title, which is wild to me, except for the cruiserweight. This is just wild for me, and they don't even talk about it. don't even,
Right.
they don't even mention that he's a former cruiserweight champion. So
No, are you
it's
sure
like,
he hasn't won the 24/7 title? Because almost everybody's won the 24/7 title.
I don't think he's ever won the 24/7.
I don't think so.
Technically, Dana Brooke won it last night during a match with Becky
Yeah.
Lynch, and then it became a 24/7 match. But that's a whole nother thing. Sorry.
I personally believe that they should just put the 24/7 title on Omos and then just have him walk around with it for like 6 months.
Yeah, that would be great.
Like give him just the ability, because he needs to get. We'll talk about matches. He needs to get more polished. In fairness,
Yeah.
Giving him a few more squash matches with some people that have been around for a little bit. You know what I mean? Having them try to jump up and try to roll him up because they can't do that. He's too big, he's too strong, and then have him just like hold it for a year. Even just let him be the 24/7 champion for a whole year, because no one will be able to dethrone him. Then when you want someone to beat him, you'll make that person. You know what I mean? Because they've dethroned the giant. The 24/7 championship would be something that people might actually want, because it will be like a cool thing to be able to say that you beat the giant. And Omos gets to be a champion, but also because they want to put a belt on him so bad.
Right.
He gets to be a champion, but also he's not going to like muck up Bobby Lashley and other people who really should be doing bigger and better things.
Right. Exactly.
Whole other story right there too.
Exactly. So I'm in agreement too. I think it would have been cool to see Mustafa win this and then have a good little run. I mean, man, you just hope something happens and that he's not just going to be not wasted. But
if anything, maybe he joins Judgment Day. I know that'd be a heel move for him. I think that's the wrong move, but like giving him something with like heat behind it, I think is important.
I think the big problem with him, unfortunately, is that he requested his release. And Vince doesn't look kindly on that.
He's petty.
And no matter how talented he is, and I think he is, I just don't see Vince giving him much of anything until his contract is done. I mean, look at what he made FTR do.
Fair enough. They were itchy powdering in the locker room, and I mean they haven't made him a joke character yet. I think that because of how he went about requesting his release, and AEW is more of a actual threat of taking guys now than they were back when FTR was around. So they could kind of treat people worse because they were like, oh, what are you going to do? Go to AEW and play like, 7th Street Entry? Like, whatever. Now that AEW is like a legitimate like powerhouse of a wrestling promotion, I could see why we're gonna give you a United States Championship match. Mustafa, like we're gonna like your contract's up, but here you go. We're not gonna have you win, but we'll give you the match. And I'm like, ugh.
Well, the other thing too, though, is they were in his hometown, and Vince loves letting hometown heroes lose.
Lose.
Well,
it's his favorite thing.
It is. He loves it. So,
well, it's been his thing. I mean, again, we mentioned even last week as far as Bret Hart. I mean, Montreal's not his hometown, but home country and stuff like that. Like since that point, man, it's literally been like, if you're in your hometown, you will lose because that's how he keeps his power. Apparently, I don't know. Like maybe that's how he is Dracula and stuff like that. Like that's him sucking the blood out of him. Was like, you will lose in front of your family and your friends and anybody you went to high school with that came here tonight. You will be on the losing end of all this shit. Like I swear to God, Kane lost in fucking Knox County and shit like that. Like I can't believe Bianca Belair has ever won in Knoxville because I mean,
well, I think Bianca, it was an ECW situation with Bianca Belair because here's the bit, like you can talk whatever you want, but these black wrestling fans will jump the thing. So like, like you can say what you want. ECW fans know, like when they did like the resurgence or whatever, and they were like, we have to have Cena lose. Like it doesn't matter if we get we'll give him the title back later, but he has to lose tonight.
That's true. I mean, but I will say this though. Yeah, Bianca Belair is on so much. She's so so fire right now that
Yeah.
you can't take anything off of her anyways. And we can even get to that match too if you guys want to next. But seriously,
well, real quick, we're gonna get into the no holds bar Madcap Moss versus Happy Corbin, and I want to bring it up because I know HCW is saying that he thought it was a good match, and to be honest, I see his points in that, and watching that match made me go, man, I forgot how much I like Corbin.
Ooh, man.
I mean, I don't like him so much as Happy Corbin, but I like him as I like just heel General Corbin. I wish they'd get away from the happy stuff a little bit, but he had potential. He had a decent run. Now it's whatever. Honestly, I actually like Sad Corbin the best, but
I think that they pulled the trigger on Happy Corbin way too early. Make him a babyface. Because we should have all been like, let's get him a chance. Like, let's get him a chance. Like, we should have done that. Like, give him some money.
Yep.
People should have been throwing money in the ring. You know what I mean? Like, there was they just wait a little bit. Let people get there. And then now that they've switched him, like, oh, he won a bunch of money at the lottery. Why not make a Money in the Bank match with actual money? Why not, like, give it to us in a match? Why not let him be like someone like, I can't think of a wrestler who would have like done it at the time, but like
Andre Big John Studd had a match for money, didn't they?
Yeah. Just have like a heel who has money at the time, and who cares who, you know what I mean? A heel has a bunch of money and be like, I will put up $100,000, and if you win, you get it, and if you don't, like the Virgil situation, if you don't, you're gonna have to serve me for the rest of your career as a professional wrestler, like something like that. Give us like a thing for him to root for, and then he gets the money, and then once he has the money, he slowly flips to the heel. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think the Madcap Moss thing was dumb. I've never liked it, so I'm going to be the anti this match.
Well, and here's the deal with Madcap Moss. Like, he played a good lackey, but he beat him, or when he came out, it was like a new Madcap. I don't know. It's like, I want him to still be that dumb guy that was following Corbin, but like now the good guy in it hating Corbin, but like you just changed everything. Yeah, and now he's just a dude who's coming out yelling and woo, and it's like
he's
whatever.
A guy. He's just a guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I didn't like Madcap Moss, but at least it was a character. Now he's just generic guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, with anybody who has suspenders, I always think back to like, what is it, the Dicks? You know, like I feel like they're like, he's like this close to all of a sudden being like a Chippendales dancer and shit like that. It's like, Vince has a weird fucking sense of humor. So if he comes out with a bow tie next week, we all know why, right?
But he didn't wear suspenders in this last match.
No, he didn't.
Well, so, I mean, I'm just saying he has been and stuff. So
he
like,
just wore he wore black trunks and black wrist tape, and it was just like,
and that's it. That was even the worst part. It was just all solid black, like not even his name on the trunk.
They didn't have anything for him.
No,
that's the old Iron Mike Sharp outfit.
Well, I mean, Stone Cold had mentioned too, like, you know, his thing was black trunks, black boots, like even fucking black tape when he needed it. So he needed to have that edge as far as being a talker and being kind of a fucking hellraiser. Madcap Moss, man, is just not that guy. So, like, I don't know why you put anybody in black, everything, unless it's like a Randy.
And Stone Cold had a vest at least when he was walking out with like a skull on the back. You know what I mean? Like something to remind you that he had like a thing about him. And then when he took it off, then it was an all black. But at that point, you would already know like who this guy is. Yeah. Like Madcap is literally the default wrestler.
Yes.
From the game.
He's the creative player before you start doing anything
to it. Except for his hair is longer. Like that's the only interesting thing about him.
Yeah, I think every creative wrestler is always like bald when you start. So then like, okay, I changed his hair to long, and then it's like,
and that's it. All right, done.
Madcap Moss, like. I feel like that's also like the same name that would be for creative players. Like, here's something that's wacky, zany, and possibly tough. It's like Madcap Moss. Like, okay, we're doing it. It's like, maybe not.
Yeah, I honestly, altogether, that match was kind of the feud itself. I don't care much about. Like, it's like I feel like the feud didn't have any weight. It only mattered to them. And that's kind of the bit about some of these WWE feuds is that they only matter to the people involved in the feuds and don't matter to me, the fan. Like, I don't care that Happy Corbin and Corbin and Madcap Moss are no longer friends. They were heels to begin with. Like, why do I care that they don't like each other anymore? Even if Madcap Moss is like, hey, isn't it cool that we're like, I don't like Corbin anymore? It's like, yeah, but you didn't like us 5 minutes ago. Like, why do I care that you don't like this guy either? You know, the enemy of your enemy is not your friend unless you do something to defend us, the fans, from Happy Corbin. Like, if it was something like a fan had come in to win Corbin's money, and the fan won it fair and square, Corbin stopped him from getting the money, and then somehow Madcap was like, hey, no, Corbin, like, this kid won fair and square, you should give it to him. Because then it's like, oh, there's a reason why we care. I don't care that they're fighting. Let him fight. Like, whatever.
Right.
So
yeah. Definitely was more of the and like you guys said, the break match. I think a lot of people did not pay any attention to that match. Worth noting, Corbin went out on a stretcher. Sounds like they're writing him off for a little bit, so he may be gone for.
They're gonna change his character up, what they should. Give me back the Lone Wolf, or even like I like before the King gimmick, back the NXT. Now, granted, they kicked out Drew McIntyre kicked out at the end of days, though it was to very little fanfare. So like, just give us maybe another year run where nobody kicks out of it. You know what I mean? Give me another year run where no one kicks out of it. Give us the only one person in the history of the WWE is ever kicked out of the end of days, and then
because finishers are supposed to matter, and you're right on that one.
So take him away, bring him back as a Lone Wolf. He can stay bald. Give him ring gear and not like freaking cruise loungewear.
Yes, please.
Please. Here's another idea, and I'm just gonna throw this out. And we can move on to something else. If you have a guy named Happy and he's not wearing a fucking Bruins jersey, what the fuck is the point? I'm fucking telling you guys, man. Like, the only character in the history of anything that's been named Happy is Happy Gilmore, and he wore a goddamn Bruins jersey 90% of that fucking movie.
He sure did. Small packages do matter as well.
Yes, they do. Very true.
Again, Danny Brooks won with a small package, the 24/7 championship last night. So
Jackson Riker, ain't that the guy? He's gone now, right? He got in trouble, didn't he?
Right, Riker's out of there.
He said some stuff he was dumb for. So, Judgment Day. So this match was the one that I was most pumped for on this card. And that was the Judgment Day, Edge, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley against Finn Balor, AJ Styles, and Liv Morgan. And to me, it was a very fun match to watch.
No, it was great.
I have a question. Did anybody actually see AJ and Finn give the two sweet? Because I think they cut away from that like for the fucking 2 times they might have done it, which was like on the ramp and then right as they got in the ring. And because I didn't see either one of them or anything leading up to that match. So I think that was the times when they probably did it was when they fucking cut back to Judgment Day, which means Kevin, whoever in the back.
Spoilers to people who didn't watch Raw.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it was I thought it was a great match, and like like Ace said, this was one of the matches I was really looking forward to.
And it was an awesome match too.
It was
a great match.
I was hoping it was going to finish with the ladies, and I was hoping we were going to get a Liv pin because I feel like she's just at a point where she needs something big like that. She's kind of earned it, I feel. Which was why I was so excited to see her team up with AJ and Finn, which obviously was a one-night deal. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, if you didn't see Raw, spoiler, like they said, but Edge is no longer in Judgment Day. Finn took over. They beat up Edge. So what's Edge going to join up with AJ now?
No, Edge is going to take Cody's place because Cody's going to be gone. This is all everything that happened last night happened because Cody isn't going to be there. Period.
Yeah. So I think that it was clear that they were like, all right, well, let's not get the fans hyped up on this Bullet Club reunion stuff because, we now have to figure out what we're going to do. We'll move Edge into Cody's spot because Edge and Seth already have history. So that'll be fine. And then we'll kind of like move Finn into Edge's spot. He has ran a crew before, though the one thing I think is to WWE's detriment, and then eventually Judgment Day's detriment, is that because WWE has been so adamant of not talking about how good of a leader Finn was in New Japan and how he started the Bullet Club, he does not have the weight in WWE to take Edge's spot. Because, like, that's the bit, right? Like, they said the only thing that was holding us back, I mean, spoilers for Raw, like, they said the only thing that's holding us back is you, Edge. Even though Edge brought them all together. Edge is the veteran, multi-time world champion, Royal Rumble winner, tag team champion. Like, and Finn he was the first ever Universal champion, which they never talk about. He's multiple-time NXT champion. And my list is done. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Intercontinental title, I think.
Oh yeah, Intercontinental and US. I'm sorry, he had the US title for like 3 days and lost to Theory and didn't seem to care. And then he was the Intercontinental champion for a little bit. He is like a tag team championship away from the Grand Slam, which he should have won with AJ. In fairness, they should have gone after the titles and then been the ones to beat the Usos. And then be like the champion guys in the tag team world, let them do all the crazy 5-star Meltzer matches that everyone wants them to do. And then be like, we have a tag team division too, and they have 2 of the best guys from your little indie bingo halls that you love so much, says Vince McMahon. Instead, they put Finn, who, as much as I love to see him as a leader of a faction, in WWE, what does he have to say or to give them that Edge wasn't giving them early?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I'm so confused.
But this is what happens when you release talent for the sake of releasing them, and you don't have a very deep roster, and your top babyface wrestles a match like he did, and then has to go away.
Yeah, a lot of different factors, I guess, now that you think about it, really went into last night. Kevin Owens
itself was great, though. And again, the match itself was great. Fun. It was a lot of fun. Kudos, shout out to everybody on Twitter who was couldn't keep their mouths closed about Rhea Ripley's ring gear. We all did see. We know. Okay, we understand. All right. Thank you for letting us know.
Right. Kevin Owens defeated Ezekiel, proving that he is Elias. I don't.
That was the.
These are the ones that hurt me because I love Kevin Owens so much, and he should just be in such a bigger program than you're Elias. You're driving me crazy. You know.
Here's the thing with KO. You know, he is so good that he can do whatever they throw at him, and he just does it. And I mean, to me, it's like we all know that he's capable of a lot more, and they're just not giving it to him. And maybe it's still body image that Vince doesn't like, but it doesn't make any difference. We all love KO, period. He does what he does.
Remember when Kevin Owens stood on the United States Championship and raised the NXT Championship?
Yes.
Remember, like, Kevin was the biggest thing that was ever going to happen to WWE. Remember when like Big Match John got beat clean by Kevin Owens, and everyone was like, this chubby kid from Canada walked in and slapped the taste out of the mouth of the biggest thing in professional wrestling since Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Like, I remember that guy. Remember even, let's take it back even sooner. Remember when Roman biggest, thickest, veiniest Reigns, who could not possibly be stopped by God himself, was running in fear from Kevin Owens, who he cheated to beat to maintain his championship. Remember when Kevin Owens was a legitimate threat to the biggest name in the company? And now he's yelling that a guy's name is different than it was earlier, and his beard is gone. This is a fine feud for someone else. It is a fine feud for The Miz. It is a fine feud for like, I'm trying to think of anybody else who'd be able
Dolph
to do
or
this.
Rude
Dolph or
Gable
Corbin
or Otis.
Corbin.
Yeah.
Like it's a fine feud for anyone else. And now obviously Kevin Owens is making it the best version of this that you could have because Kevin Owens is so great. But it's like taking your Ferrari down to the freaking, like down to the McDonald's, and that's the only reason why you use it. Like there's no reason, there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe.
Well, you take a Ferrari to the McDonald's and then the thrift store, and then you go home and you're just like, hold on. None of this makes sense, right? Was that Macklemore?
Weird.
What the fuck is happening?
You're putting premium $50 gas into a 1,000-year-old moped. Like you can do it, but like why?
Right. Oh man, yeah. And like you said, Kevin Owens did what he could with it, made it entertaining because it's always entertaining when he's in the ring. But man, I hope his luck changes.
Pull back Bo Dallas. Get Bo Dallas.
Oh, come on.
Honestly, actually, that would be a good call. But and if anybody again did not watch Raw last night, here's a little spoiler: they are having a return match because Ezekiel admitted that he's Elias, but then he admitted that he lied about being Elias. And it was like, oh god.
And maybe the kids are loving it. Here's my thing. Maybe the kids are loving it. I remember I am an adult, and this whole back and forth, it isn't catching me. But I also don't watch Nick Jr. So like maybe things are happening on that end of the spectrum that are like freaking dope. And so like I'm like, okay.
Maybe blowing some kid's mind.
They're like, who is he? Like, maybe that's it.
It's so funny that you mentioned that too, because when we were watching, I texted to Tom. I said, "Yeah, it's kayfabe for 10-year-olds."
Yeah, and that was about the main event because I guess now it's a real injury, but at the time with Cody Rhodes, I was like, it's fucking fake, man. Like you can airbrush a lot of that stuff in, but apparently it's real.
We'll get into that because I know, JR, you made a comment about the coloring, and I think I realized something as that match went on that explains that, but we'll get into that last. Bobby Lashley takes on MVP and Omos, beats him. Bobby Lashley's set up to have a pretty big run, I think, coming up here soon.
With what? The U.S. title?
I mean, because that was...
I don't know, but they're setting him up for something. I think maybe things changed because of Cody too, so maybe he's one of the guys that might be a player in this till he's back.
That's true.
My big thing is, did we all? Well, and I'm interested to hear what you say, Mr. Nur-D, because you are a hip hop artist. But
the diss track? Are you talking about?
I did not need MVP.
You talking about the
spitting
diss track?
Before the match?
Okay. Hip hop and professional wrestling have always had like this weird, awkward hookup, like every so often, and like, this is me personally. This does not reflect on the views of hip hop fans everywhere or Black WWE fans or whatever, but I feel like WWE doesn't like Black people being in part of Black culture if they can help it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just don't. They're allowed to as long as they dance and sing and shuck and jive for Vince. But outside of that, like,
shuck and jive,
they're not really. So it's like, when I heard, like, at first I heard the track, not particularly great, but when I saw him do that, I was like, all right, this is what I've asked for. I've asked for Black wrestlers to be able to be a part of Black culture live on the television. So a part of me has to just like, I will take it. That being said, I think that was so bad, and I didn't want it to happen. Bobby Lashley deserves so much better than what he's got. And I get that they had to close the door on this feud, especially since they want to firmly put MVP in Omos's corner, and Bobby Lashley into a babyface. The problem is, again, and this is just for adult wrestling fans, because a kid who sees someone who's tall, doesn't matter how clearly Bobby Lashley outclasses Omos in every other area other than height, for a kid, it might not. It doesn't matter. Omos is taller, therefore he's better. So, like,
Right.
but for an adult wrestling fan who knows anything about just like fighting in general, Bobby Lashley is a former MMA fighter. Like, he's not Brock Lesnar or anything, but his record wasn't bad. And
Right.
he is huge. And Omos can barely walk around the ring.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like to try to get me to believe that Omos is a legit threat to Bobby Lashley is a disservice to Bobby Lashley as an adult fan.
I will say this: when Omos took that run and tried to block Lashley, that was the same way my grandson tries to push me over. You know, with this kind of.
I mean, he's so big, and he's used to being so big, so I know he doesn't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And because he's not a violent guy. Like, you can tell that he can't stop smiling. Like, you can tell that he's having a great time, and he wants to have fun with his friends. Super cool. Make him face. Stop trying to push him as a heel monster. Make him a face monster. Again, like I said, give him the 24/7 title, and then just let him be the unbeatable Omos, the unstoppable Omos, and set him over here, because Bobby Lashley needs to be the Almighty.
Yeah,
if you give him that name and that title and the entrance and all of the stuff, let him be in the main event picture, and that's where he should stay. You know what I mean? Like, these personal petty feuds, she really should be in a bigger spot. MVP signing up with Omos and being his mouthpiece makes perfect sense. Oh, yeah. Omos is not good on the mic, so it makes sense to push him over there. Bobby Lashley is also not great on the mic, but he doesn't need to talk to be a face. Right. He can just be a monster. Make him like I don't think of a face that never talked a whole lot. I don't know. Maybe they make him the first. He just doesn't come out. He doesn't say anything. I come out, I wreck fools, I walk away. You know what I mean? Like, that's all he does. He comes out, beat some people up, spear them, and leave. And stop talking. Just stop having Lashley talk. He's like, have him on the mic, take the mic from whatever, go in the ring and say, I'm not going to say another word until I get my title back. Just put the mic down, and then he doesn't talk. But have him like Hook. Like, freaking, I don't say much. I don't say nothing. I just walk in, I throw people around, beat them up, and leave.
Well, and I think you're right on that one, because, I mean, Lashley has a big enough smile, and his eyes are wide and bright when he's out there and shit like that, man. Like, he knows how to sell himself just naturally. He's a naturally charismatic guy, and you don't need a guy who's that way to talk all the time. I mean, literally, you could just have him go out there, be a pleasant guy to the fans, you know, because he already wants to fucking be slapping hands with kids and fans on ringside. Like, he wants, I mean, hell, he grabbed somebody's WWE title on Sunday and just like was carrying around for a little bit. Like, that is something a face will do, man. Just let him be that guy. Carry around something like that.
A Hook type face. Like, because Hook's like a face, but he's more like a tweener. You know, he's kind of like in his own little space. But let Bobby Lashley come out, be super big and beefy, not because like kids used to love. You talk about kids liking selling merchandise. Like, I remember Kane and like these big guys who wouldn't do a whole lot of talking, but they would just be big and strong, beat up the bad guys, and that's it. And then Bobby Lashley could come out of the ring. He could look at a kid, you know, stop. You know, give the kid a thumbs up, but the kid gives him a thumbs up, and then he just walks to the ring and beats a bad guy up and leaves. Looks at that same kid, give him another thumbs up as he leaves. Like, you don't have to have him speak.
Well, and I think when you mentioned, like, as far as a face that didn't talk, like, Andre didn't talk a lot, right? Andre the Giant didn't talk a lot because he didn't need to, right? Like, he was the draw, and you know, obviously he had physical limitations. I think even like that, like, almost moves around a little bit better in the ring than Andre, but he's also a little bit younger and doesn't have all the injuries that ever built up over time. But Andre was that guy. He was likable because he was the oddity, but he would smile and he brought joy to people because, he wasn't scary. Like you could go up to him like I mean, you were nervous around him, but you could give him a high five, and he had those big old fucking hands. He just can engulf a child with and shit like that. But he was a guy you just knew had joy in his heart because he's doing something that he loves, and he's around people who love him, and he's going to give that love back. And that's a very easy fucking story to tell. And you're right. Lashley could literally just go down, give a kid a high five, go right in the ring, beat somebody up for fucking 10 seconds or whatever, come right back out, give that same kid a high five, and then run right back up the ramp, and then just raise his arms like he does, and just fucking
to do the like let the entrance do the talking for him.
Yep.
Let
because that music's intense.
Do the talking for him. They give him the boom, there's smoke everywhere. He comes out. Let him be. His bit should be that he's so powerful. His bit should be like he's on another level. Like he's beaten Omos, and now nothing can stop him. If anything, what I said about Omos in the 24/7 title, you do the same thing with Bobby Lashley, except for I wouldn't have him anywhere near it. But like the only bit is I would say like you could take that title and then make him relevant, make it relevant. Like he's like, I'm taking this. And I'm going to beat up everybody. And no one even wants to challenge for it anymore because it's Bobby Lashley. I am the almighty 24/7. And I'm going to you should he should just be there. He should be mauling people and then walking away. And then have people like Roman Reigns. How else are you going to beat Roman Reigns? You have to build somebody into a being that is beyond wrestling.
Or to stop having top talent guys and then dropping them down pegs. Like you don't leave Drew McIntyre out in the open, exposed to lose a title and then not come back for it, or like a Bobby Lashley losing a title and then not coming back for it,
or
like
a Kofi Kingston losing the title and nothing, and him doing
and
you know what I miss? I miss a instant rematch. If you're a champion and lose.
Well, because Brock had that right after WrestleMania.
I miss that they took that away, because to me that was some of the fun, is because we were guaranteed another rematch, and they could either really put the kibosh on that line, or that's how we kept some of these storylines going.
And main event people in the main event sequence. Because if they lost, it would be like, I'm gonna get it right back right away.
Right.
Even with the Money in the Bank, if they lost, now you have 3 people in the main event. You're making everyone main event stars. Right. I understand people are like, we're getting sick of the same matches, but it's like you're doing the same matches anyway.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you're not just doing the same 5 matches every week. So it's like might as well make it like a canon reason. Ultimately, Bobby Lashley never lost the title.
True.
Like he never lost the title. Big E did. So I think that Bobby Lashley should be built back up into a Roman breaker if he could.
Mm-hmm.
And then if not, then you should really be putting him in. If you want to give him the United States Championship, fine, because he held it well when he was with the with the Hurt Business. He held it well. It looks good on him. But I think you should make it sort of like when The Miz holds the Intercontinental. Every time The Miz holds the Intercontinental Championship, it feels like a big deal.
Yep.
Like he loves that title. Like he loves it more than any other title he wins, I think. Every time he wins it, he is like, this is the title. This title happened. So if you make Bobby Lashley that way with the United States, I'll give you a thumbs up.
There we go. Well, time will tell what's going to happen to good old Bob Lashley. Triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship. Bianca Belair against Asuka and against Becky Lynch, with Belair winning. Another solid match. I really enjoyed it. I was pulling for your girl there, JR. I thought Asuka was going to get it. I do kind of like that they had Bianca get the win without really being involved in that like finishing spot. She just threw her off and got the pin.
Well, the idea, I think, was that Becky Lynch kept trying to steal the pins, and Bianca outsmarted her.
Right.
Yes.
Which I enjoyed immensely.
I think as as a Black WWE fan, a lot of times, and something that people will point out is that a lot of times Black wrestlers aren't portrayed as intelligent. They're portrayed as athletic and strong and able to beat you up, which okay, whatever. But like the fact that Bianca Belair did outsmart Becky Lynch, whose current character is all craftiness.
Yeah, big time Becky.
Big time Bex. I really did. I'm with JR on this. I really appreciated that because Bianca Belair is a top tier talent all around. She is the EST. Smart Est is part of it. So I think that was really good. I think it cements Bianca Belair as the type of champion we know she is. And it also creates more character work for Becky to do, who is I wasn't loving Big Time Bex at first because I missed the man. But I think I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing the heel work that she's doing, kind of becoming what she hated, and I really am enjoying it a lot. I thumbs up on the match. I love Asuka. Don't get me wrong. I think she's my favorite on the roster, period. I'm always into Asuka anytime she comes out in the ring. But let's keep this battle going.
Yeah, all three of them have good things going for them. So it'll be fun to see what they do with them going down the line. I really do. I really enjoy Becky Gaga. It's fun. I like it. And it plays well with Seth. And I think if you're going to have these two be associated, they've got to play well off each other. And they're both doing that right now together, and it's fun.
That's why I want them to have titles. Unfortunately, they won't. But I like this House of Rollins concept, like this House of Bex concept, like the prime time, how like these crazy like weirdos with their outfits and their and like they got married and now they're just weird. Like that weird couple. Like
marry and have a child, and it's just like, hey, guess what? We're even weirder now. We're even more strong, or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like some weird.
Give them that, and now they'll never build Brandy to the point where they're able to do anything with her against Becky Lynch. However, that would be like once Cody comes back and all this stuff. If by that time they have Seth and and Becky be kind of like this, we're the new wrestling family. Like we are the new, we are WWE's new power family. Having Cody come back, reignite this huge, awesome feud that they had, bringing in his, wife into the mix. I think that would be really interesting. Maybe even do like a triple threat with Miz and Maurice.
Yeah, there you go.
And have it kind of be like, because if I said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I knew Miz was a wrestling god from Hoorah Miz. I've been on the Miz train since Hoorah Miz, since the fedora and the fingerless gloves. I said,
Chick magnet.
This kid is good. I don't know what it is, but I know he's going to have something. And he has never disappointed. He has constantly evolved himself into something better. And you can put the title on him at any time. You put the main title on him on any time, and it doesn't seem weird. It always seems like appropriate. Like he is, when he ranted at Daniel Bryan at Talking Smack all those years ago, if you didn't switch over to fully being on the Miz train, then you'll never get on, because that dude is the bomb.
Dude, that was such a good little segment. The other thing they did really good with him that got me really going for him was 27 when he was going against Cena when The Rock was there. His P. Diddy intro, the Hate Me Now, where he's like getting the control board watching like his whole career flash in front of him on the screen. Like, dude, that was epic, because it was like, dude, that's really what he went through. Like that was.
Well, let's be real honest. He was destined to be a great heel because everybody still remembered him from all the MTV challenges and shit that he would talk too much during. And then when he went over to NXT and became or was trying to get on the regular show, Tough Enough, I guess, is what I should be saying. But then,
dude, and that's where it was like, wow, okay, he could legit go. Like, he's putting the time in to learn this when he was on.
He's learning it, yeah. And then the original NXT, I think the best version of that they ever made, the original NXT, where they had pros and rookies. The Miz being the pro to Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Like this slap in the face to every indie fan in the world, essentially, was so good. And Miz knew his part, and he played it perfectly. Again, like, you say whatever you want about all these other wrestlers, but if you want to talk about top WWE style professional wrestlers, The Miz needs to be a part of that conversation. He does their style of professional wrestling probably the best of the people that are still doing it. You know what I mean?
Because he is one of the top sports entertainers in the world.
He's not going to go over to AEW and do well. He's not going to go to like New Japan or Impact and do the same thing he's doing because he doesn't have that kind of style. But for WWE, the move.
Yeah.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Oh,
he's going to
100%.
be he's going for everything.
Let me ask this real quick then too. So you mentioned as far as like power couples in WWE, and you mentioned Brandy. Now, do they bring her in as Brandy Rhodes or back as Eve? Because
no,
that's
Brandy Rhodes.
You can't bring her back as Eden anymore. Like,
was it Eden
over.
or Eve? Or what? I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's been a few years and shit like that. But like, the reality is, like, again, WWE fans don't know where they went. I mean, to Corey Graves' credit, he did mention as far as the Allstate Arena, where Cody's time away because they were trying to sell us all this bullshit of like, oh, bring Rust, and he just hasn't been doing anything. It's like, no, he mentioned it on the pay-per-view where, oh no, he has a history here, which to his credit, and I think that's the whole thing like WWE kind of needs to get away from, is this whole things that existed outside their fucking realm. Like, no, man, like,
it's one of the reasons why the Judgment Day thing doesn't work with Finn. It's one of the reasons, and I'm not even talking not even just professional wrestling. It's one of the reasons why Bobby Lashley doesn't have the way he should, because he was an MMA. Like,
yes,
you like let people know that, like,
and he won everything in Impact too.
Yeah,
like they really should. Yeah, they should really. I think this is another reason, and I kind of exploded on these guys last week. If you didn't see it, Nur-D, like as far as in the third hour we decided to do or whatever, but. I believe sometimes when you don't have like a territory kind of mindset, as far as sometimes you sell like this is the power guy coming from somewhere else into here, you don't really set up. Like when Brody Lee was introduced to AEW, everybody knew who he was elsewhere, but it became special because we all knew he had abilities other places, and like now he's coming to a place where maybe he's appreciated more, and he has like a bit more shine because it's new, right? But Bobby Lashley going back to WWE, and you don't mention anything as far as the WWE or Impact or the MMA stuff, like, what the fuck is the point, man?
You have to remember all the way back in 2008 when he was ECW champion.
Yeah.
Like that, like, you know what I mean? And you're just like,
the failed ECW champion really well.
Yeah. Like, they don't even talk about ECW. So it's like, it's not even like you can go like, oh yeah, that thing everyone talks about.
That's right. So I just think sometimes like that stuff needs to be kind of put out there. And I know when
it's weird that they don't do it what's weird they didn't do it when they brought Mickey out with her belt from Impact. You know, like, you acknowledge that, like, just open the door now. Just let's be honest.
I thought that was going to blow the door off of so many things. I was like, wow,
I was hoping. I was really hoping.
I thought she'd make it to the final three.
Well,
I honestly thought that it was going to be like a holy crap. Like the Impact champion's going to win Royal Rumble. Like, what do we do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that would have been amazing, and they fumbled it. They fumbled it so hard. And so when we talk about I have to bounce out. When we talk about Brandy Rhodes being Brandy Rhodes in the WWE, if she gets brought in, I think that if they're not going to do it with Cody, if they're not going to finally stop pretending like other places don't exist, except for like a punchline on a throwaway Raw,
right?
Then they'll never do it.
Right.
Well,
Cody Rhodes started the rival company to your guys' company. Well, you need to talk about that.
See, and that's the thing. They've done so many of these other like the network shows, right? Like, so Table of Three, they brought in like I think when Jarrett signed his contract, they still had Sting on a Legends contract, and they had AJ Styles. They had them talk about the 6-sided ring of TNA. They didn't say TNA, but they 6-sided ring, and they used like a Pro Wrestling Illustrated or illustrated photo of a TNA ring, and they talked about it. It's like you can't keep fucking do, and they like the retrospective, like Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan, like they pulled clips from ROH. They paid for some of that media library. They've done the same thing with AJ Styles as pull some shit from Anthem for TNA stuff. It's like you can't keep fucking doing this shit where you don't acknowledge it on air, but every time you want to run a fucking documentary or you talk about shit, you let it talk.
Now.
Yeah, I mean, hell,
that's their bag.
Talk about
you get any of their documentaries in the last 20 years, and they go to every company they were at before to get footage and everything and credit them. But God forbid you bring that out on an actual Raw, SmackDown.
It does them all a disservice. It does everyone a disservice. It does the wrestler, whoever the wrestler is, a disservice, because like unless they go all the way back down to NXT, work themselves all the way up. The only exception to that was AJ Styles, who was so big in TNA, you could just move him right to main roster. And again, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Samoa Joe should have been able to do that same thing, but he wasn't a white man from the South, and therefore he had to go to the minor leagues first.
Yep,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Now, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking because AJ Styles and Samoa Joe are equal in my head.
Oh, 100%.
So it's just like it seems weird because Drew McIntyre, I understand, got to go up through NXT. Bobby Roode, I would argue, should have been a main roster mate right away.
100%.
But like, all right, come through at NXT. You know what I mean? Fine, I guess. Asuka, no one watches New Japan or Japan wrestling in the WWE fandom. Got to work her up. You know what I mean? Finn Balor, same situation. Gotta work him up. Samoa Joe and AJ Styles were fighting you guys in the ratings every week. Like the X division was making y'all look stupid on a regular basis.
Very true, especially with those two and Christopher Daniels and Kazarian and Shelley and
so
Saban.
Give them the thing. Cody Rhodes should be able, because right now the fight is about Dusty. Yeah. Right now, the fight is about Dusty, which you knew they were going to do to get the WWE fans invested. Let's make the fight about WWE proper. All right, let's make the fight about I'm the guy who almost torpedoed. I tried to torpedo your company, and I know everyone wants to cheer Cody right now, so we have to make him face, right? So have another person in the WWE universe. Seth was a perfect person to do this, but they made it about Dusty instead. Have a WWE guy, either that be Roman, which it can't now because he's injured, but had that either been Roman or honestly, Cena.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Honestly, give him 6 months. Like we'll put him on a 6-month contract and have, Cody Rhodes come back, finally give Cena the heel turn that everyone's been looking for. And his heel turn is, I think that you need to apologize for what you tried to do to the place that built you, the place that built me. And to all of these fans, you tried to kill WWE, and I, being the standard bearer, the current guy, who's still considered the guy, even though Roman Reigns is whatever, I'm still the guy that everyone talks about. I'm here to put you to task for that. And Cody Rhodes can be badass and say, I am not going to apologize for anything. You know what I mean? I was here just like you were here. My daddy helped build half this stuff anyway. You know what I mean? You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, and I will do what I want. And then have John Cena sort of like be a dick about it.
Right.
Correct.
Well, and you never know. He's coming back a couple weeks.
Yeah. I think Cody, now he's injured, so we lose a lot of this potential.
Yeah, Yeah, and so that was the big thing with the match of him and Seth, and we're gonna get this match out of the way here in just a few minutes because it's about that halfway time, man. So we're gonna get you out of here. Obviously, the big thing is when he took the robe off and everybody saw the chest for the first time. And like you guys said, there's been debate even through today of is it a work? Is he really injured? I know you guys are saying it was looking weird. JR, you made some stuff about it changing color. And yeah, who knows? Here's the deal, though. He posted today pictures of when it first started to where it's at now, and it looks like it's legit. Obviously, he's having surgery. It feels like they're really just. I mean, this is a work. They're really going balls to the walls with it finally, which I don't think WWE is capable of doing that at this moment. As far as the change,
go ahead.
Okay, and as far as like the thing, I mean, it looked pretty real. You know what I mean? And the changing color, if you look, they were perfect lines. So that real pink that happened through the match, that was from the belt. That was when he got whipped with the belt because they're even lines. If you pause it, where it was changing color, JR. So that was from the leather strap when he was getting whipped.
I don't know if you're talking about the same. I'm talking about on his chest. There was a vertical.
I don't know. The only challenge I noticed it got like really light pink through the match in certain spots, but I think that was from where the belt was hitting.
He had spots where he definitely was getting hit by the belt, and you could see that on his back as well. I mean, he was torn up.
The thing that I say about the work as a concept, like it's a work, what would they have to gain by sidelining him for 6 months?
Right.
Is the current thing, like, what would they have, like, if it was, unless he's gonna like surprise Roman Reigns at a pay-per-view or at Money in the Bank, run up to the thing, grab Money in the Bank and leave. Like, what would they have to gain by lying? And working us up to thinking that one of their biggest current draws is just gonna be gone for half a year. Unless Cody doesn't want to wrestle that long, unless one of his things in his contract was like, I'm going to have a Brock Lesnar contract if you want me, like, and I'm only going to wrestle a couple times a year and that's it. And you guys going to have to deal with that because that's okay. You know, maybe that's possible. But I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, Cody is the guy that it's like if someone's going to tear their pec like that and know like a day or two in advance and they could pull out, he's not going to. Like he is that guy. Yeah. I think he feels like
fucking not sadist. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, like, let's be honest. Every match in AEW, he was the one that was a bloody mess. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know, but I mean, I think the thing is he's got a lot. You know, obviously a lot riding on this move.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I told you this, JR and Tommy, when he debuted and did his initial thing, and it was like. This all did seem like a calculated plan. I think his end goal was always to come back to WWE and main event so he could say, you should have did it when I was here the first time. I now proved it in here. We're going to do it now. And I think, and that's why I was saying, like, wow, when he left, like when he did dashing and then Ray broke his nose and he was putting bags on people's, like,
yeah,
that was so good. And he's always been just good in ring. He's a Rhodes. He is so good. When him and was it Damian Sandow, right? Weren't they partners for a while? That was so good.
Yeah, Rhodes Scholars.
I think I was gonna to your point. I think Cody Rhodes is so good. And I feel like WWE and in AEW, in fairness, I think that Cody Rhodes has not been allowed to be a character in a minute. Yeah. I think he was the guy, the CEO, the anti-Vince for a minute. You know what I mean? Which is actually a very bland character when you think about it, because his whole bit was, isn't WWE lame and aren't we cool? And it was just like, that got tiring because everyone was like, yeah, we know. Because you mentioned dashing and you mentioned disfigured and you know what I mean? And even the beginning of Stardust, I hate Stardust, but even the initial, when he first teamed up with Goldust, the very first time, and it was like, wow, isn't that funny? They're both like weird cosmic or weird face painted Rhodes brothers, like, was interesting. The Cody Rhodes we have now is only interesting because he's Cody Rhodes and AEW exists.
Yep.
If you take away AEW, they're not letting him say or do anything.
No, it's the same. It's the same, for my dad.
I'm a Rhodes.
Yep.
Everybody knows my name. Like, that was it. Like, that's it. And Seth Rollins is doing all the heavy lifting, character-wise. Cody Rhodes is just, I'm a good guy, and I don't like that you're making fun of my dead dad. And then he's like, and Seth Rollins is, I'm wearing your dead dad's ring.
Yeah, right.
Here. I have to all this. He's doing full on. Seth Rollins is on another level. He's on a Joker era. He is untouchable. The man is a perfect heel in every situation he's been put in. But Cody Rhodes is pretty bland. So if they take him out for 6 months and then let him come back as a character, like I am because what about him as a nightmare? What about him makes him the American Nightmare in WWE? When he was first left the WWE and he was in the indie scene, and he's like this hungry, young, prove himself guy. You know what I mean? He's in the Bullet Club, and he's kind of like he's like kind of like, I have knowledge. I know something. I'm in the chair with the smoke and the suit. Like, he's somebody. And then he's AEW. At least he was anti-Triple H. Now he's just a theme song.
Yeah, give me his character work when he was just being him on Being the Elite, and like that, because some of the lines he'd throw out and just the interactions with them. Like, I remember when he had the face off with the Bucks and Jericho before their match on the cruise, and like just hyping Omega and Hangman up about the match, like just the little lines he would throw out. And even on some of the vlogs in AEW, it's like, if you bring that on screen with his talent in ring, you have something, and it's not him just being that. Everybody love everybody, and we're gonna chase the dream.
Chase
whatever.
the dream. I'm gonna give you this before I bounce out for Cody Rhodes. A concept for you. I think that Cody Rhodes should pretend to be an AEW takeover without AEW's permission or consent. I think he should say, I'm here from the other side. I think he should take a title. I think he should beat Roman. This is me personally. Yep. I think he should beat Roman. I think you should really pull the trigger on that.
Yep.
I think he should be the one to beat Roman. And I think that you should put The Rock and Roman in a ring together. I think you put it at Mania. I think you do a whole thing. And then I think you have Cody Rhodes freaking cost Roman the match. I think you hit him over the head with the chair. You hit The Rock over the head with the chair. You take both the belts and you spray paint A-E and then walk away. And then walk away. Don't finish it. Just put A and E and walk away. And then allow him to do that. Because why? Are people going to tune into AEW to see how they respond? Of course. But AEW, if they respond on AEW, all of their fans are going to tune into WWE to see what WWE has to say about that. And you now you've won. Because the thing is that AEW can keep talking shit about you because you're not going to respond. Right. But if you just go like, we're the largest professional wrestling platform in the world, we're going to take your bits. We're going to take your guy. He is now our top guy, and he's like, and I'm from AE. You know the rest. Like, and if everybody he puts AE, and then like there's like a WWE like freaking thing, and he's just let him do that. Because what do you have to lose? Sure, they tune in on a Wednesday night to Dynamite, but you don't have anything running on that day. So who cares? Yeah. Let it happen. Then you come back to the middle of the ring being like, you all saw what my old friends had to say last week. Didn't they put on a great show? That's the kind of nonsense that Cody Rhodes needs to be doing. Otherwise, you just brought him in to like eventually have him feud with Madcap Moss.
Yeah,
Like, you
right.
know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like,
exactly.
Here you go.
And he can be Happy Cody.
There it
Yeah,
is.
anyway,
My brother, we appreciate you as always. We're gonna hopefully you're having good times with us because we want you back
I
in.
love it. I'll come back as many times as you have me. So we'll
Man.
rock out some more.
Beautiful.
Well, we like to bring people on, especially like regular repeat guests when we do like recaps of pay-per-views and stuff. So we'll maybe SummerSlam or something. We'll hit you up.
Ooh,
That'd be a good one.
fun. That'd be a lot of
Let's
fun.
do
All
that.
right. Okay,
And
well,
you got any shows? Anything you want to plug? Plug it.
Oh yes, plug. For those of you in Wisconsin, I'm going to be at the Dristless Music Festival on the 11th. That's a Saturday. That's going to be very fun. Please be on the lookout on my social medias. That's at Nur-D Rocks on all things, at NURD Rocks. I have some big things coming up. Be on the lookout for a very big thing in August. I'm not going to tell you exactly when or what, but you know we got some new things rolling, rocking and rolling. And if you are a fan of First Wrestling, which I'm sure everyone here is, or we're listening to First Wrestling, there's a big event coming up at First Avenue. Again, First Wrestling. Who knows who you might see there? Who knows who might be there? Who knows? But again, thank you all so much. Thank you guys for having me, and I'll see you next time.
I love you, brother. Yeah. Have a good night, man.
Have a happy anniversary over across the street there.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah, bro.
Always a pleasure, my man.
Peace.
All right. We had a comment in there I think we should address, and that is MJF.
Yeah.
Let's jump on Jake Hudson's question there. What do you guys think about the MJF promo? I want to speak last on this one, so I want to hear you guys' side of this.
I mean, I still think this is all just a big work.
Here's the thing. It is a work. He went too far. I saw today that Warner Brothers is not happy at all with it. And this could be a problem. This could be, I mean, I would say this could be, there's a lot of stuff that they do. I think probably that the suits at Warner Brothers don't understand the blood, the guts, the swearing. And this just possibly could be a little bit over the top.
I read something about how AEW sent something to them about taking him off all the promos and all that stuff and editing him out. I still think it's all a big work. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. TNT, TBS, like I've seen, like you guys play movies at late at night. Like there's some shit on there. Like I'm pretty sure one beep in a 2-hour show isn't going to kill you. You know what I mean? But maybe, I don't know. I mean, really, all eyes on them now. Will he be there tomorrow?
I believe not.
And if they're smart, he won't be, to keep it going. Because they're going to have to run this till all out, whatever the end of this whole thing's going to be.
So just and you're right. Like they're trying to wipe him off of all of the promo packages, all of the intro packages that they have. They're trying to get rid of him altogether, that he's on the roster. He's no longer on Shop AEW. I don't know if he has anything available on ProWrestlingTees.com. I assume he did or does, because he is still technically an active wrestler, so they wouldn't want to get rid of him there to break that kayfabe, if you will, between the organizations. But here's what I gotta say: it's a work. It's the best. It's the most well played work we've seen in a long time, right? Like this is Roddy Piper in WCW with the fucking reality check, right? Where he is going to storm through the executive order of the company, right? Like, and cutting the mic after he calls Tony Khan a fucking mark, and I can say that here because it's Twitch, is fucking brilliant. Cutting his mic altogether, letting him go on a rampage, pun intended, I suppose, even though it was Dynamite, made a boatload of sense, because one, he again took the worst power bombs I've ever fucking seen at Double or Nothing. But then it clearly was kayfabe. You put a fucking oxygen mask over his eyes during the pay-per-view.
Right.
And then he comes back and he is yelling and screaming at you. and the fans and everybody in the back. Like, I guess there is some guys in the back that have issues with this. Like, I've been trying to follow this one pretty closely, so I appreciate Jake Hudson asking the question. But it's a work that some people just can't get behind, and I understand that because, again, the business as a whole, from a fan side, if you will, it's hard to sometimes dissect this in a way that doesn't make it seem like you're just fanboying out. But like, MJF knows what he's doing. We've talked plenty of times about how the fact that like he is one of the guys who's going to lead the way for the next generation of wrestling. Like, we all know that, right? And he's been making plenty of references to his contract expiring, and he wants to be fired right now. But I mean, WWE can't touch him right now because they don't have room for him, to be real honest with you. And they're going to probably fuck him up. And he knows that as well. So, like, he needs to kind of run this contract out until 2024 if he legit wants to leave. But it's just a really smart decision right now to do this kind of thing. Like, let him do his own version of a pipe bomb and write him off air for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks at least, maybe even a couple months. And allow him to then maybe build towards Double or Nothing, because we're going to have a new champion in AEW because CM Punk is actually hurt and we'll need to take some time off. So,
well, see, and I think that's the other thing. CM Punk got hurt and they didn't have to drop the title. So, like, I think this is all a work. Again, this is all a work, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really do think this is all a work. I think the entire locker room's in on it. I think when Jericho made his comment about that, I think that was all part of the game, because MJF is a guy that maybe he will leave eventually, but I think right now he's really enjoying the fact that he is a big reason AEW has blown up the way it has. Like, what he says in the ring about that aspect is very much true. He's one of their biggest draws on the company. There's no lie in that. I'm almost positive he's probably getting compensated for it. I really would be surprised if they won't. Tony Khan and his family own an NFL team, Major League Soccer team. They know how this shit goes. You know what I mean? Like,
English team.
But you know what I
mean? Yeah.
Well, I said
Fulham.
soccer team.
He meant a real team.
Well,
I just meant MLS. They own a real team.
I just said soccer team.
You said Major League Soccer team.
Oh, did I? Okay. Either way, though, it's, you know what I mean, though? Like, they're in real sports. They're now in sports entertainment. It's just, yeah. And again, very CM Punk-like with the promo. And to be real honest, like, with everything that happened with Naomi and Sasha, it really almost feels like they're mimicking that, because that was a real deal thing that happened at WWE. WWE did come out and say, yes, lawyers are now working on this. There are breach of contracts. We're pulling everything off from them. And that was a very real deal. And right after that, all of a sudden, it's MJF's F-bombing on Dynamite, and he's this and that, and all of a sudden he's not going to show up to the, like, it all very much is they basically are like, these people are losing some of their big stars. What if we turn this into something, because he's been chirping about his contract because that's part of his angle. That I really do. I think they're just like watching what's going on in WWE, and they're like, fuck, let's just make that a storyline. And MJF's a guy to do it, you know?
Here's a couple things, though, that are real. He did miss the meet and greet without telling anybody. And it's been reported that it's costing him $10,000 in refunding money to people who wanted to see him, to fans.
See, but here's the deal. I haven't heard any fans who were there say that they were getting refunds. I haven't heard anything that.
Yeah,
I've seen the Sap, Sean Ross Sapp, or whatever his name, report that same thing about they lost $10,000 or whatever. But I haven't heard any fans be like, well, I heard no one being pissed about it that day. It was not blowing up online. There was no one being like, where the fuck is, like, all, like, that's why I'm like, man, and let's be honest, what's his name? Sean Rossap from whatever. Yeah. I like his shit, but let's be honest, he's very much. Oh, he has a lot of access to AEW.
Yeah,
he is very much a fanboy when it comes to
so,
some
like,
of this stuff.
I could definitely see them using him to plant some of this shit. I just really do think this is a big work. I really do, because I think that
it's. So here's the thing, though. Honestly, it's clearly a work. they wouldn't have given the microphone and let him do that if it wasn't a work. I mean, let's be,
because we're talking about the same guy whose parents go to the arena when they're in their town and tell every fan they fucking hate him and make signs saying he's a shit son. You know what I mean? Like,
but here's what I do think. I do truly think that he is unhappy.
Maybe, yeah.
Because of the compensation. And I think what happened was, I think the match that he had with Wardlow, it was other than the fact that he was getting his ass pounded on the mat, it was the finger poke of doom. I mean, really, that match was. It was a squash match for Wardlow. And I think he was truly and for real, genuinely upset about his position. I think what he said in the ring probably was true. I think before he went out and did that, he and Tony probably got together and figured some shit out. And so, yeah, I mean, it's that
well, see,
shoot
for me,
that turned into a work.
Well, and for me too, the other thing is, I very much believe AEW had planned their first 4 champions. I very much, it was in the plans. It was going to go to Jericho. It was going to go to Omega. It was then going to go to Moxley when they had him. And then it was going to go to Hangman. That was their first 2-year plan. And there was even a shirt. I think, what were we at? Full Gear. Someone had a shirt and they were on. We were like, look at this. They are putting what their plan was on the shirt.
And like, AEW is well known for these little Easter eggs.
Exactly. So it's like, so that's where I also think this is even a bigger work, because he obviously knew that they were, because let's be honest, Hangman had not had it long.
Right.
Like, he had it appropriate time. He got it in November?
Well, because Jericho, he beat Jericho's time as far as title holder, so he is still the 3rd longest reigning champion.
So he's only the 3rd. So it's not. I mean, Mox and Omega had it even longer than him. So I mean, that's where I'm also like, I think this is all like, I'm pissed about my position. No, I think he fully knows like this was the full plan. But I think the first guy after those first 4, I think, is maybe going to be. Well, I don't know, because now the CM Punk shit, well, they probably didn't know when he was coming for sure, because there was always a talk of the doors open whenever you're ready. And it took like, a year or 2 before he was ready. And then the whole him now having a broken foot right when they put the title on him finally. Because to be honest, I really do think it was going to be MJF to take it off Punk. Yeah. I 100% believe he was going to take it off Punk in Labor Day weekend and All Out.
So that's why you have him come back. Excuse me, like if you're gonna legit have a tournament to try and figure out who is going to get the shot at the title, right? Like, that's what they're saying. You have him probably come back right at the end of that tournament, force his way into a three-way, and win it that way, which will probably be at All Out.
Well, what I like is you have MJF now. Like, tomorrow, you have him come out. You have him and Khan, which this is what I hate. I hate that Khan, in order for this to work, is going, and he already has been, even though in every interview he says, I'm not going to be an on-TV character, guys. It's not going to be me. Well, guess what? Now you kind of have to be, because you guys are really, really trying to just do what Stone Cold and Vince already have done. Again, you're going to have repeat things in situations over the years. Movies are the same a lot of times, and I get that. But now you're at a point where you should have Tony Khan come out and address this in ring, because he's not addressing it on interviews. And then you should have it to where this all ends up being that MJF's in this tournament. He becomes the interim champ, because that's what they're going to do. It's going to be an interim champ, so then you can bring Punk back when he's ready. And now you have Punk with a belt, MJF with a belt, and now you have MJF say, I'm the real fucking champion. I've held it while you're gone. And then you have that match, and then he puts Punk down.
I believe they do it differently. I believe that Wardlow wins the tournament and becomes the champion because he will have to, he can avenge his loss to Punk that was because of MJF, and then they can go back MJF and do it again.
Yeah, that could work too. Either way, though, a year from now, MJF will either have had or has the title.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I very much think if he doesn't get it at All Out, it's going to happen at Revolution. No further. I don't think they'll wait to pull the trigger on that till Double or Nothing. But as far as the whole MJF thing, Jake, you were asking, I think that's kind of where we're all sitting at. Kind of overall, a big work, maybe some elements of some shooting going on and some of this stuff. But
having said that, one of the most compelling things I've ever seen.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he was, I mean, it was stuff that I'm sure he legitimately had thought. If he doesn't still,
100%. Yeah, and I mean, and it was just good. The guy's a stud. We've been saying it forever. The guy's a stud. No better heel than him. It'll be interesting to see the day happens. He becomes a face because it'll probably eventually happen.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think he'll be fine with that too. You know what I mean? We've already seen what he's like when he's in his hometown crowd and he's the face.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. I don't remember. Did anything else happen on Dynamite?
They talked with Athena. They had the old face-off with Jade and the baddies, and then Statlander and Anna Jay came out too. I really was, and I don't know if we talked about this. I was really happy to see Ember Moon show up there. She was somebody that I always liked in WWE, and I just never felt they gave her a lot of chances. And then, of course, she got hurt. I would love to see her take that belt off of Jade. I would love to see anybody take that belt off of Jade, to be honest. But I think Ember Moon's probably a person that could do it.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because as much as I like Thunder Rosa, there's just something lacking with her being the champion right now. It was for her. The chase was the thing, and now that she's got it, I don't give a shit.
I think the lacking thing with Thunder Rosa is it was like 3-4 months too late.
Yeah,
correct.
She should have took it off of Britt the first time around when they had that feud. You can't have a long. I mean, you can, but you got to really do it right, and I don't think they did with this because she was feuding with other people in between.
Yeah,
and it would take away from her and Britt's feud, where unless you're going to do it right, you can't do that if you want this long term. And I don't get why people are afraid of that long term. Do no one remember WWE, WCW back in the day? That's what they were. That's what we all watched for, is to see these stories play out. WWE does the matches still. They just don't let these guys tell the story in between the matches when they repeat matches. But I mean, you would see a Hogan feud go 3, 4, 5 months. You would see Triple H and Cena have 3, 4 pay-per-view matches in a row and have great story in between it to lead up to each of these matches. You would see DX have these things. You would see Stone Cold, Rock. You would see all of it. You would see Goldberg, good NWO, not when it was getting like fucking
and there was always a cliffhanger. It was always a cliffhanger.
Always a cliffhanger.
Which is why we wanted to see what happened next week.
Exactly, and that just it's just not happening right now. I didn't actually watch Dynamite. That's why I was asking. I only watched. I saw Tim Nella text me. And then right after he texted me, Tommy said something about the MJF promo. So I went over, watched it, rewind it, watched that. And then I went back to watching the golf match.
I'll tell you what, I was gonna bring this up, and I forgot to because we got going. Do you think that Vince, because even though they say that they're not watching, they don't pay attention, do you think Vince had MVP do that diss track simply because Max Caster is so over with his coming down to the ring?
I don't think so. I think he did it because I think MVP wanted to do it, and because I've been seeing stuff on his social media for months now about him like recording music, and it was just like, why are you doing this, bro? And I think he did it during his first run at one point. I think he was like on a song or something like that back in the day, if I remember correctly. But I love MVP, man. You know, he's a good dude, great wrestler. I love everything he does, but fuck, that was an awful rap.
Yeah.
Awful. It was just not good. It was not good. Anyways, yeah. What else? What else was going on? I didn't watch Raw either.
So, and I think Tom sort of mentioned this a little bit. So, Bob Lashley was out in the ring. I don't know what the fuck he was talking about, and Theory came out, and there was this whole kind of thing. You don't have it, so it looks like it's going to be Bobby Lashley taking the belt from Theory, or at least trying to, which I think is a waste.
Yeah, he probably won't, and then hopefully goes on to bigger things. But
and then another thing with Raw is Cedric Alexander got squashed because he interfered in the handicap match, so he got beat up in 5 fucking seconds by Amos.
Yeah,
and then as they're leaving, Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode made their return to Raw. And they were doing a quick interview. MVP interrupted them, saying, "How dare you try and take the shine off of us?" MVP got super kicked by Dolph Ziggler, and then they all just ran to the back.
So now the Dirty Dogs are faces for no real reason, other than Cody's gone.
Well, yeah, maybe that's the reason, I guess. I didn't even see the fucking opening promo with Cody Rhodes because I turned over late because I was doing shit like cooking food and shit like that, like a real proper adult. And so I just saw the tail end of that. And then I honestly I couldn't fucking care until I guess Judgment Day came on and they said they were going to have a new member.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they brought out Finn, that was really the most exciting part of Raw, was that segment where then Finn Balor is now apparently the new leader. Because unless it's Rhea, because Damian Priest doesn't have enough charisma to lead that group. But you know how WWE is. A woman can't lead a group. Are you kidding me? But
yeah,
I mean, that was the most exciting part.
Let me ask you.
Hell, they can get rid of Stephanie.
Well, real quick. Like, the only other part is, if you guys didn't see it, and I'm going to spoil it, I don't give a shit. Rhea Ripley won the 4-way for the #1 contendership towards the Raw Women's title, so she will be facing Bianca Belair at Money in the Bank.
Who was in the 4-way?
Doudrop, Alexa Bliss,
okay,
Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley. It was a good match until I fell asleep because of just being so goddamn fucking bored after 3 hours of this bullshit. Because there's just so many fucking ads. I could not care less about any of the fucking matches because they have 2 fucking commercial breaks during every one of their fucking matches, man. I just can't care.
It's the same thing. You go back and look at how much actual wrestling is in that show and compare it to Rampage. There's more wrestling in Rampage
at least
in the 1 hour
split screen during the side by side or whatever.
Yeah.
Picture in picture.
So my question, did it look like they're going to turn Bliss and Morgan into a tag team?
A little bit.
I read something about that because I'm curious to see if they're going to start just forming pairings now because they need to eventually crown new tag team champions and they don't have enough for the tournament right now. So fucking just mad dash pairing chicks up to make them be tag teams now.
Yeah. So Nikki ASH did come out with Doudrop. So that would be another tag team because, again, if you figure it, there's 2 other people in that match that she's tagged with before. Alexa Bliss and Rhea Ripley. So it makes sense for her to pick another partner. So I would assume if they're going to push anybody for those titles again, unless the Iconics want to come back because they're not fucking.
They stopped they're done wrestling.
I guess so. But I mean,
they're going to be big movie stars now.
I guess so. I mean, they're both very attractive, so I can imagine why they would be. But
Jessica McKay has actually already got a part in like a pretty decent movie, I guess, coming up, like with a decent cast.
Nice. I'm just saying, like, I'm just throwing that out because I was like really the only legit tag teams that are just throwing people together for the women's title.
They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to get a new tag champs because there ain't no fucking tag teams.
So I would assume, like, I mean, if it's Nikki ASH, God, what the fuck, Nikki Ash, whatever, and Dewdrop, I don't know, they'll probably call them like the UK connection or some bullshit.
The UK connection.
Yeah, because Dewdrop is British or English, and Nikki is Scottish, so they'll probably do something stupid like that. The British Poodles is what they'll probably call them because fucking sexist, right?
Right. Lab Glass, we were talking about it earlier, actually, and I think all of us are in agreement. We prefer the 7 on Hell in a Cell over the marathon show that was Double or Nothing.
So, I mean, to JR's point though, too, like with all the fucking bits and segments between, because it really did feel like if you look at what they showed at Hell in a Cell and then also with Raw, this was technically like a Raw pay-per-view, if you will, because they didn't have the tag team titles up on the line. They did not have the Undisputed Championship on the line. Like they had a couple the Raw Women's Championship,
the Raw Women's and the
US,
that
was it. So they didn't feature the Intercontinental. They didn't feature the SmackDown. They didn't feature the tag or anything else.
I've heard that they're going to go more brand specific, just as far as roster wise. Are we going to see pay-per-views become more brand specific?
I heard they were getting rid of all that shit because it doesn't make sense anymore. But I mean, I don't know, because I just fuck. There's so much wrestling nowadays, man. Like I don't know if I can care about where WWE is going anymore, man. Like,
so I guess for me, it's hard. I can't watch Raw because of just how much non-wrestling there is, and just the repeat of, in case you didn't watch 10 minutes ago, here's what happened before we went to commercial, and it takes up another 10 minutes. You know what I mean? But it makes me sad at times because, to be real honest, I didn't not enjoy Hell in a Cell. It wasn't a bad pay-per-view. It was a decent show. And the matches, for the most part, were all pretty good. Where
the presentation just plotted, though.
Yeah. It could have been a little better. But then you go to like AEW Double or Nothing, and it's like, okay, a lot of really great matches. Presentation was good, but Jesus fuck, there was just like 3 matches on there that just didn't need to be on that card.
So what happens?
Or could have been on your pre-show and make the pre-show a little bit longer. But whatever.
I think what happens a lot of times is that they still view it sort of as an indie kind of presentation, you know what I mean? So like if you go to an indie show, like you have a time, but it's sort of looser. And in this day where he's like, it's a pay-per-view, but there's no hard time you got to be done. Right. Like back in the old days when you were buying time on the satellite. And and
hard out. Go home. Go home.
I remember WCW
stabs you because you didn't go home.
I remember WCW had to refund a whole shitload of money because the ending was not on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, they dropped, or no, they had to re-show it the next night. They refunded, and then they had to show the Diamond Dallas Page versus Goldberg finish from Halloween Havoc in '99.
Because it was just, but the whole thing is, it's like there's the difference, like, and there's a difference between watching Dynamite for me and watching their pay-per-views. Because Dynamite to me flies by. I mean, it flies by, and if they're going to start doing inserts of the interviews during the matches, it's going to be even faster. So I'm happy with how Dynamite is compared to Raw, and I was happy that it was shorter, but it sort of dragged on. Whereas with AEW, I'm like, I get fired up, and then I all of a sudden lose steam because there's 4 more fucking matches left.
Yeah, and I'm just a bad wrestling fan. I kind of haven't been watching anything weekly.
You're a piece of shit, Ace.
You turd.
I just go to social media to get all my stuff and highlights. I just watch it on Twitter. It takes a half hour, guys. What are you doing with your lives?
Actually, legitimately, he goes over to prowrestlingtranscripts.com.
It's a good site, too.
Reads about all the matches he misses because He's a better reader than he is watcher.
Shout out Joshua Lopez, as well as the Hoots podcast. The only other two things I was going to briefly bring up, and I'll just throw them out there. You guys give your opinion real quick because we'll shut this down in about 10 minutes here. WWE, it's been talked about how WWE's denying that there was inner plans of pushing Stephanie out today, but it sure sounds like Vince and the higher people up there with him push Stephanie out, which makes you kind of wonder, because I thought I read Triple H was now back to work, but I don't know. That's really weird. What's going on there? I don't know. What is your guys' opinions quick on that?
I have a feeling that Vince is getting to a spot now where he thinks he still knows shit, but he's listening to people, and so he's got some people that are probably able to convince him of some things. Whether Stephanie did a good job or not is hard for us to tell. You know, if she was responsible for advertising and sponsorships and that kind of shit, they had some that were pretty garbage. You know, but that's not all of it. And so it's very hard without sitting in the boardroom or getting a report to know exactly what she did or didn't do. To me, it just sounds again like he's kind of getting ready to sell it, and he doesn't want any of the kids to be around because he already fired Shane. Yeah, Shane, whatever. Fuck, he's not there. He's not there, fucking Tom. But
doesn't mean he doesn't have a real fucking name.
Sean's a name. Ask anybody named Sean, you dipshit.
That's not
yeah. Anyway, but the point is, I feel like, yeah, they probably were going to get doing that, and she probably caught wind of it and said, "Yeah, I'm going to just take some leave," which means she won't be coming back.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds like they were like, "You need to go."
Well, if you're wondering what my opinion is, it's Vince fucking shooting himself in the foot again. He has no idea, I think, where the next wave of this business is going to go. So he is trying to recreate either something between. It's somewhere between the ruthless aggression period and PG, right? Like that's where I think he's trying to lie, right? Because they'll say shit, and they'll have Riddle talk about Mrs. Balls on Raw. So they're trying to find some area, but for him to try and recreate something that wasn't even his best period, in my mind, makes it even more certain that he's out of touch. And I mean, Ace, you brought up before as far as Nick Khan might be the actual buyer of this shit.
Nick Khan's back there just like, hey, hang on, Vince. We should do this, Vince. We should do this, Vince.
Yeah.
Just listen to me, old man.
It's
he's the new Trish Stratus.
Right. He's the kiss at my
Nick Khan comes out wheeling Linda in a fucking wheelchair. She's all
well, I mean, because the only thing we know for certain, right? The only thing we know for certain in that hierarchy of the company, right, is that Vince and Linda own the majority of it. Nick Khan apparently has bought into it. Kevin Dunn owns a shit ton of stock because apparently he helped push it past, or bought back into the company as the producer when they were losing in the Monday Night Wars. And that's how he still has his position, even though he's fucked up multiple fucking times every fucking week. And
the originator of the vomit cam.
Well, he's also the guy who fucking said to shoot back to fucking Roman Reigns when we had AJ coming through the fucking curtain during the Royal Rumble. Like, he is a bonehead, and he's part of the executive team over there at WWE. And apparently your family's expendable because you know for a fact that Shane and Stephanie own stock somewhere in this company. Triple H owns stock in this company. I'm sure there's even former wrestlers that they've fired who own some kind of stock, but apparently you can't get rid of your fucking one of your worst attributes in your fucking production team in Kevin Dunn, and all your writers are just fucking morons. Like, what the fuck? I mean,
and then yes man Bruce Mitchell. Or not Mitch, Bruce Pritchard. Sorry.
Like, and that's another thing too. Bruce Pritchard is a valued mind in other places, right? Like when Impact or TNA brought him in, he actually helped build that company to solidify their stars and make sure that it was a viable product to wrestling fans. But then he goes back to WWE, and you're right, he became a fucking yes man immediately. Like between him being Brother Love and being part of the executive team or director, the director teams or production teams, excuse me, like he doesn't show himself to be in good favor towards the wrestling fans at this point, right? Because he has his moments, but then he shows that he doesn't technically give a shit past XYZ, right? Like, and this is another reason why I still want to try to be a fan. Like, I really do. I do want to try and be a fan of WWE because it's important. It is important to try and, see what's all out there as far as this variety of entertainment goes. But it's so unbelievably fucking hard when I am pushing for AEW to relaunch ROH and make that into something. MLW is still out there with some stuff on Vice, but I mean, that's harder to find nowadays because Vice doesn't know what they're fucking doing with wrestling either. And then you still have Impact where you can find on Access TV.
Yeah. And NWA on YouTube. I mean,
and you can, and you have the ability to watch Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
You get yourself IWTV too on that air, and then you can literally watch a show every night.
Yeah, or like you can go watch GCW stuff on like Fight and stuff, or like go watch. Like, I think they still have the back catalog of ROH on Fight as well. So like, you can fucking go and find all of this stuff, and I mean, and then you just type in whatever you fucking want on YouTube. Literally, I watched like all of like MJF's like most whatever they fucking called it as far as a clip show, like outrageous promos and shit like that. Like, it was hilarious. But there's so much content out there. I just don't really give a shit unless Botchamania is running a bunch of fucking WWE clips. Like, hey man, that might be my only WWE watch for the week is if Botchamania covers them for shit that they're doing. But like, God, it's so fucking hard to be a fan of that product now, man. Like, and I again, when the Monday Night Wars were running, I was a WCW guy, like hardcore WCW till the very fucking end, like an absolute idiot. But like I didn't trust Vince then. I mean, I would watch like Shotgun Saturday Night because it was fucking free on like local TV and stuff. But like, fuck, dude, like I couldn't trust it past a certain point, and because and then SmackDown became on like UPN and shit like that, like. I would still watch it, but I wasn't a fan outright of it. But I don't know, man. Like, he's kind of proven over the course of the last 20 years plus that, I mean, he's gotten more out of touch with what's fucking going on with people's lives and what they want to fucking see as far as wrestling goes, man.
Lab Glass nailed it with the best way to watch WWE as a fan. Yeah, man.
Background noise.
It's rough. It's rough all around. Vince is, the thing is, I think he tries to be the trendsetter because he did so much for the wrestling industry as far as making it become a big deal. And I know you're kind of against it, but again, going from a territory era to where you're on cable network, you're on pay-per-view, you're able to sign these talents, you're able to take it worldwide, and the shows, like the arena shows worldwide as well. He did so much that I think at this old age, he still is trying to make those kind of calls. And it's like, hey, old man, like you ain't got it. And the people around you know nothing about this shit. Bruce kind of does, but again, he's going to say yes to whatever you want.
Yeah, and he knows how he's going to get fucking paid. I mean, realistically, I don't blame anybody for going there and getting paid, right? Like, I'm sure their writers are making fucking $120,000 a year.
Well, it's like Owens. He could have probably had a way better career leaving and going to AEW as far as creative and in ring wise, but I get it. The money was there. He's taking care of his family. You can't hate a guy for that. You just hope that they do something good with him. So, it's crazy. The other thing, real quick, is do you guys, this was just a question I wanted to pose, do you guys think things are getting a little too intense ring work wise? And the reason I say this is, from like the week before Double or Nothing through now between AEW and WWE, there have been so many fucking injuries. Brian, Punk, was O'Reilly hurt? I think I heard.
Yeah, he twisted his knee or some shit.
So he's out. And to be honest, I think I'm missing another like 2 or 3.
I heard Matt Cardona, who's the current NWA champion, is hurt as well.
He's
He
going to
just
go on
had
the next
surgery today, actually. And he was actually just in Iowa at I don't remember the name of the show. Anyways, He was Bridge City is where he was at making an appearance. He was supposed to take on Rory, but it didn't happen. And then you got WWE with Cody. And again, I was gonna pull the list up and I didn't, but like a lot of big names have gotten hurt in the last like 2 weeks. And it's just kind of crazy.
I think some of it's freak stuff, that just like I mean, I don't think anything specifically happened with Punk, right? I mean, Big E. Well, that's a whole different kettle of fish. I think Punk. I mean, if you watch Double or Nothing back, he was pooped, and I think his fatigue probably hurt him there, and he wasn't able to. I mean, he could barely stand up after he flipped over the ropes to try to do the buckshot lariat.
he fucked up twice for sure.
Yeah, and then the next night or the next Dynamite, he tried to jump off the rope and couldn't stand on it.
Tried to do a springboard, slipped off.
I think in his case it might have been fatigue. In Daniel's case, I don't know if when he went through that space in the ring, I don't know if that was the actual injury or if there was something else.
Yeah, I don't know. Adam Cole was the other one. He's out till Forbidden Door.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What'd he do?
I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe it's maybe.
Well, you just looked at a lot of top stars, right?
And that's just it. It's like the big name guys are the ones getting hurt right now.
Well, yeah, and they're all pretty much doing 1 to 2 shows or 2 shows a week, right? I mean, some of those AEW guys might pop up on Dark or Dark Elevation or something like that, or I'm sure the WWE guys are doing some house shows because they're back doing some of those as well.
And the AEW guys are probably going out and doing indies on the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, wherever they can as far as what their contracts might allow and stuff. But I think you're right as far as the workload. I mean, but they also know that this is not a career they do for 30, 40 years. Like, this is a routine. I mean, maybe 30 years. Like, a lot of these guys might be able to start when they're in their late teens and then go through till their late 40s or, early 50s or whatever. So maybe 30, 35 years is kind of what you're looking at. But the reality is like, you need to make money now, right? So if any of these guys started later in their lives, they're going to take every fucking booking they can get and go with it and hope to God be pushed to the moon. Now, I think sometimes what you might want to look at as far as your show is a little bit more balanced as far as what your mid card actually looks like. Mm-hmm. I mean, AEW has gotten pretty intense as far as there's a lot of guys who are upper mid card and your main event talent. I mean, because they have different main events. Like, I mean, fuck, John Silver's been in a main event a couple times, man. Like, so, I mean, they've done a good job that way, but they don't book a lot of mid card to work. Like, it's a lot of those guys who have been a main event stay in that level and they'll be on the televised shows, and they're not the ones that going back and doing Dark Elevation a lot of times. So,
yeah.
So there's something to be said as far as your workload and stuff, but
yeah. Oh, we'll see what happens. We'll see if MJF shows up tomorrow night. We'll see what that all will entail now. Yeah. Otherwise, though, good time to wrap the show up. I've literally got nothing going on. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that. Absolute Pro Wrestling, their very first debut show, should be dropping on YouTube tomorrow. We'll have it on our social medias. I don't know the exact YouTube channel it's going to be on. I think it's the Prentice Network. I could be wrong, though. You'll hear me on commentary, and you'll hear the debut commentary of Top Shelf Tommy.
That's right.
A couple matches as well. So it's all right, Danny. It's just going to be on YouTube. We're not doing like a watch along on this one. It's just going to premiere on YouTube. So you can check it out when you get a chance. So look for that. You guys got anything?
I just got texted yesterday, so I'll be hosting again at Gutty's this weekend. If
you
people
must
are in,
own that club by now.
Nope. I just I don't have a lot of other bookings, so I'm going to try and get some names or some emails out this week as far as some other bookings and stuff. But no, otherwise, if you guys are interested, there is a AWF show in Egan on Friday that if I didn't get booked, I was actually going to go to. So, because the guy we're going to have in a couple of weeks, Big Cat Bill Williams, is going to be defending his AWF championship there. So,
yeah. I should probably look. I forgot who next week's guest is.
There you go. Yeah, we're going to have Big Cat or the Revolutionary Bill Williams on the 21st. So in 2 weeks, he is excited about being here, and hopefully he is still the AWF champ. We will see after this week. But yeah, so Gutty's this weekend though.
JR, do you have anything?
Yeah.
All right. Justin Decent out of Iowa.
Nice.
Him at Madhouse IPW. He'll be joining us. Guys, very special show. We are going to be doing a watch along next week with Justin on a couple of his matches. And if you've listened to when Justin was on here before, you may know who Susie is.
Oh, yes.
And if you don't, you're going to find out next week. But we're going to actually watch a match that Susie partakes in with Justin.
Oh, my God. I can't hardly wait.
It's going to be pretty fun.
RVTV almost learned something tonight, but maybe next week. Maybe next week you'll learn something.
All right.
And Danny, have a hell of a time in London. It's a great place to go.
Have fun, buddy.
Have a good time.
And thanks to all of you guys for watching. We appreciate it very, very much. We will see you again next week on Tuesday at 7 p.m. with Justin Decent. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the show. Let's see what has been happening in the wrestling world. Welcome to the show, where comedy meets wrestling by fans for fans. The 2 Counts, always the best guests in Midwest. The 2 Counts, wait time guaranteed because we're the best of the best. Meet Phoenix and JR, Top Shelf Tommy, we're about to start. Welcome to the 2 Counts. It's time to dig deep into the wrestling world. Welcome to the 2 Counts, where comedy meets wrestling by fans for fans. The 2 Counts.